What up, everyone? Welcome to the Master of Evil podcast live show. I'm Mike, aka Strange Spaceman, and I hope you love my mustache.
I am Tom BSC on Instagram, and I do not love your mustache.
I'm Alan Doom Wizard, aka Mike's mustache.
They give your mustache a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a bad mustache.
Yeah,
I think maybe it's
for stockiness though. Like that's a straight cop stash I've ever seen.
and to be honest with you, this is thin because I shaved my whole beard off, and then like I shaved it all the way down to like a 2, and I was like, I'm gonna keep the mustache, and I was like, oh, it looks weak, but whatever. Who cares?
Because you also shaved your head, it looks kind of odd.
Yeah, I did shave my head. That is correct. I got rid of all the hairs.
Is the carpet match the drapes then?
What's that?
Does the carpet match the drapes then?
Oh no, it's that still looks like what my beard looked like before. So
No wonder your wife's mad. You have a small head of hair and a big old book.
all the hair in the wrong place. Either way, what can I say? I'm Italian. So yeah, welcome to everybody. This week we're talking about Deadly Class. So Deadly Class right now is on issue 45. It is an ongoing series that's put out by Image Comics. It started in 2015. It's from Rick Remender is the writer and Wes Craig is the artist. So quick synopsis that they have on the book. So we're just talking about Trade 1, which is awesome. Trade 1, I have it as well upstairs. There are, I believe right now, 9 collected editions out there right now. The trades are 5 to 6 issues each. I think they're mostly 5. This first one is 6 issues. And it's titled Reagan Youth, which a lot of these trades have some type of tie into 80s music. I want to say punk rock because the vast majority of it is punk rock, but there's also some, references to the Smiths and some other bands in there as well. But it's, Remender wrote this and he said it's 1987 and a homeless teenager, Marcos Lopez Aguelo, I believe is how you would say it, has no reason to keep living until one fateful evening he is approached by a mysterious girl who invites him to King's Dominion, which is an atelier of daily arts, a brutal clandestine high school where the world's top crime families send the next generation of assassins to be trained. Murder is an art, killing is a craft, and a dagger in your back is not a metaphor. Pretty fucking badass and straightforward. I mean, that's exactly what this is.
Before we go further, I have the second one here too, just because. And this one is called "Kids of the Black Hole," which is an adolescence song. So if we wanted to keep talking about the music aspect of it, it definitely named all the trades after something music related.
Yeah. There was a couple that I didn't notice. And I tried looking them up and I couldn't find out. So there was one that's called like Die For You. I think that I was like, I don't know what this is. And when I looked it up, the only thing that came up was a fucking Post Malone song. So I doubt Rick Remender 6 years ago wrote about a book that was coming out in I think that one's 1988 is that trade. It's like the 3rd or 4th trade about Post Malone. So I can't figure there's some pretty deep cuts, I think, in there. The dude is definitely, well, Alan just dropped off. So
having issues. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I think he's having connection issues, among other issues that he has. But yeah, so I mean, Rick Remender let's just start there, right? He is. I mean, he reminds me a lot of myself, right? Like he's got to be a little bit older than us. He's probably in his mid 40s, but he is a punk kid that grew up You know, you can tell just the way he writes and the way he talks in interviews. He is like, you know, wears his heart on his sleeve, very emotional, very in tune with who he is. And he just writes a lot of, you know, a lot of heartfelt stories that are, you know, on top they look like action-packed ridiculousness, but really deep down it's always about some kid that's just going through shit, or some guy that's going through some shit. And thank you, Matt, for complimenting my stash.
Well, I don't know if you at the back. I don't know if it's in the back of all the books, but in the back of the first book, I actually screenshotted it. He talks about like how he grew up in Arizona, and what the fuck does it say? Oh man, I can't remember what. Fuck, let me find it real quick.
Yeah, take it. So, I mean, I have a deep connection to Rick Remender. I think like when I first read, I mean, I read some of his stuff in, like, I read the Punisher run that he did, the Franken Punisher, whatever the fuck it was. His Marvel stuff, his Uncanny X-Men run was fucking phenomenal. I don't really care much for them, especially with Deadpool in it, but it was fucking awesome.
I'll say X-Force.
Yeah, I'm sorry, X-Force. That's what I meant to say. Uncanny X-Force. Yeah, and you know that's the one, typical one with the gray suits, and or the atypical one with the gray suits. Everybody's got the red eyes. The art is really good. I forget who the artist is in that. You know, he's another one of these guys who he kind of reminds me of like Mark Miller in this way, where every time he does a series, he finds whoever is the best artist at that time to do this series. Like he just works with some of the best artists on everything he does. And I think that is a testament to how good of a writer he is. I think he can really make those people want to work with him, even if it's a crazy obscure book like Deadly Class.
Yeah, he's worked with a lot of the same guys through a lot of different things. You know, Uncanny X-Force had Jerome Opina on it, which also led into the Image title they're doing right now, the Seven to Eternity. Yep. And they also worked together on some
Fear Agent.
Yes, yeah. As well as Tony Moore, who worked on Fear Agent and the Franken Castle series that you were talking about. He worked on that one as well. So yeah, he tends to keep those artists close that he really enjoys, and it's great. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, it is good, and a lot of people might not know this, but like, you know, it's kind of relative to what's going on in the Marvel universe right now. The whole Sam Wilson as Captain America, you know, Rick Remender wrote him. Like he did that book when he was writing the whole Captain America. You know, he did like 27 issues or whatever it was run. It's the only reason it ever got me to read Captain America. I've never read any Captain America outside of him in the Avengers or the Rick Remender stuff. And to be honest, you know, I'm happy that Remender just went and did his own thing and is 100% indie creator owned stuff and is not doing anything for DC or Marvel, because you can tell if you read anything about him or read listen or watch any interviews, he was miserable and fucking hates it. And Alan's having a dance party.
No, I'm trying to figure out this fucking light, man.
So let's move on to the book. Hold on, I want to mention one thing that I think is cool about as well, especially because how much music is referenced in Deadly Class. Remender himself was an artist, or is an artist still, and he's drawn tons of books and all kinds of things, and he's actually done artwork and album art for bands. He did stuff for NoFX, he did stuff for 3 Inches of Blood, Lagwagon, No Use for a Name, and some more. So yeah, he's been in music as long as it's been a thing in his life, for as long as he can. I'm sure that he can remember. But yeah, he's done all kinds of stuff, and it's really cool to watch him bring that more into books and stuff.
That's crazy. I had no idea. Oh, he did the Jesus cover.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
The No Effects 7-inch, the hippie cover with Jesus on the front.
Yeah, Never Trust a Hippie. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, I didn't know that. See, that's awesome. And Lagwagon, I definitely, yeah, that's great. I'm gonna have to look all those up.
Anyways, get into the book. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just, I could gush about this book. Remender's one of my favorite writers ever, probably my favorite writer. And I think that this is probably my favorite ongoing series. And the main reason I say that is I think there's other books right now that are on the shelves that are that I look forward to reading first. Pretty much a lot of Jeff Lemire's stuff. Gideon Falls is probably my first book I always read. But the thing about this book that a lot of books can't do or struggle with is, it's on issue 45 and it's just getting better. It's not slowing down. Like you would think like this only has so much time before, hey, it's not the 80s anymore and it's not about punk rock anymore. Like but at this time, these characters, typical comic trope, these characters need to age out, because he has a timeline in this, right? He says, hey, 1987, and the next one's 88. And then they're in, 89 and he goes through the whole thing. So this first book is all 1987. And it just does a great job of setting up the main characters. It sets up really, definitively who this dude Marcus is and what he's gone through. And so I just wanted to bring up one of my favorite things from it. This is the whole story of him losing his parents. It's almost that Batman-esque kind of parents were killed, but just not by some random dude in the streets with a gun. He blames Ronald Reagan for the death of his parents because Ronald Reagan, true story, cut funding for a lot of medical stuff, but what he really did was took away a lot of funding from mental illness wards and mental illness, like in the whole health sector, and like really removed a lot of that money. And so this crazy woman jumped out a window because she wasn't being looked after and fell on top of his parents and killed them. It's just fucking crazy. Like the whole concept is out there and just but so you have this setup of this homeless kid who's eating garbage, picking up, cigarette butts off the ground and lighting them up and living with bums. And it just goes from there. Specifically into a lot more drug use and a lot more crazy violence. And I mean, it's got everything a good comic book needs. It's got ninjas. It's just got everything. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So I was going to point out something that I noticed. Because I think Remender, like whenever he does shows, is pretty, close to the comic books. And there was like a few things that I realized or that I noticed that were different in the comic. The homeless guy that they kill, Rory or whatever, is just like some dude who's like not a bad guy. But in the TV show, that character is like this fucking guy's killing people and killing women and making people disappear and shit like that. And then also in the TV show, Willie is the one that shoots his dad by accident.
Right.
But in the comic, it's his uncle, right? His uncle shoots his dad, or no, it doesn't shoot his dad. He shoots the gang members that kill his dad, and then I like the little changes. I mean, it didn't really make sense to have that stuff in the TV show, so I liked it. Was just kind of like extra stuff that I noticed while watching the TV show. But I mean, I was only 3 episodes in, so.
No, and I mean, I think you have this book is pretty fucking hardcore. Like within the first 2 issues, you have, or first 2 or 3 issues, Marcus kills 2 people. Like, and he goes from like this just homeless kid. I mean, and then really with the flashback, he almost he burned down an entire orphanage. So like this is not like this shit is, but like I agree. Like when they're looking at like trying to find that homeless dude, the one who stole his shoes, they find him, he ends up getting away. And just what really motivates Marcus to do that is like he's trying to prove something to himself, to these newfound friends, to to the entire academy, right? And I think for me, there's this inner turmoil that I go back with Marcus. Like, is he just trying to fit in, or is he actually really that badass and does not give a fuck? And I don't think there's really an answer either way. But in these early issues, he just seems like, I mean, he's about to kill himself before he's found by them. He just doesn't give a fuck. So,
well, I think for me, I think it's a lot of him trying to fit in, because I was going to say about like at the end of the first book, the afterwards, Reminder talks about how he moved around a lot and it was hard for him to keep friends, and looking the way he did and being into the things that he was into. It was a weird spot, especially I guess like in Phoenix. And he was just talking about like, how, like, because of the way he looked, he didn't really, he didn't fit in with anybody. So I think, even with Marcus, there's a part in the first book where they're going to get the homeless guy, and Marcus jumps from the one little building to the other building, and he dares Willie to do it. He bets Willie to do it for like $2, and he's like, the inner monologue is like saying, I'm doing it just to show off, just so that he thinks I'm cool. And I think, maybe Reminder kind of transferred that to the book from him not being able to fit in because he was always moving around and wanting to be cool and, wanting to make friends. So I think that for me, I think it was him trying to be cool and trying to fit in and wanting people to like him, because he never really had that growing up.
Definitely. I agree with you on that too, because there's so many people within this school that he's in that you don't know how they're going to take you as a new kid. There's so many cliques or gangs, if you want to call them that, that all have their own names. They all have their own, there we go. There's some fantastic ones that have some really good character development, even really early on. But there's also some that you don't get too much information from just yet. It comes off really quickly with some of them, and they become a problem. And it's really cool to see how those develop and see how the friendships between different groups actually develop.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool idea that you have this like high school with like essentially like the Yakuza, like the Mexican cartel, like the Bloods or Crips from Compton, whichever they're supposed to be, like the KKK, like and then like I don't know, or the mob, right? Like you have like literally the pretty much most dangerous, or thought to be most dangerous people in American lore, just like all walking around high school like they're the goths and the punk kids or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, or the jocks and the goths, it's a hilarious thing. And the like how they go back and forth, like there is something underlying in this where like when you read this book, I think I have to remind myself, like, God, these are just fucking supposed to be teenagers, because they don't act like teenagers, but like the inner monologues or like that you read a lot, you realize like they're all just fucking kids, you know what I mean? And they're just doing what kids do. They're bowing up and trying to be the toughest one. It's interesting.
But sometimes you forget too. I mean, what Saya is completely covered in tattoos. So I mean, they're kind of just doing whatever. Like, what's good too is I like that. I like how right after they kill Rory, they end up going to the Las Vegas, which is one of my favorite things, where he's tripping on acid, where he's the acid king, and they end up killing Billy's dad. I got some this whole line right here about the digital mountains are coming at me, and it's just like, I don't know, he does a pretty good job of like going through all of his
his phases of tripping, you know, with the Ronald Reagan faces. And one of the favorite things of that whole scene for me is you got right here. I don't know if you caught it, was, you know, Fear and Loathing. That's essentially
Yeah.
Johnny Depp walking down the hallway. And so you have that whole scene. I fucking love that. And I love that all that shit happens, right? And like they kill Billy's dad, and then they're trying to get back to the the room, and that's when he's like, I'm peaking. Like he goes through all this bullshit, like the worst shit you can imagine. And right as shit starts to like quote unquote calm down, that's when he's like, I can't go to the casino. I'm peaking right now. And it's just, fuck, that's hilarious.
But you also get to see Fuckface at the end of it as well, which I was pumped about. I'm so bummed about the fucking show. Like,
Yeah.
I started rewatching it with my girlfriend, and she's like, I like the show. I want to reread it. And I was like, yeah, it sucks because the way that the show ends is on a cliffhanger, which really fucking sucks. So it's I mean, it's cool that there's comics that follow it, so it's not like Swamp Thing getting canceled, and you know, we're seeing where they could go with the show. It's like, I mean, you already know in the comics like where they could go, but it's I don't know. I think I'm mostly bummed about that show getting canceled.
Yeah.
Fucked up. So like I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, you know, Swamp Thing, great fucking show, but Deadly Class, I don't know, man. Something about Deadly Class that I it's the music, the fucking just the grittiness of it. It's just very relatable. Like I don't know. It's probably the best fucking comic show I've ever watched.
I agree. I mean, I think now after seeing Invincible and knowing it's coming out, like, knowing that more is coming out, like I probably think after a few seasons of Invincible, I'm going to be right there. But that first season of Deadly Class was just so fucking good. The casting was so on point, except for Willie. I don't like the casting of Willie. To me, Willie seems like this scrawny, scared. You know, he talks tough, but he's like this skinny kind of. He's just not. You know, in the show, Willie was like a big dude. You know, like he looked like he was just a big dude. But yeah, I agree, man. Like it's they really hit everything. You know, like that whole. You know, some of the most like my favorite things in this first trade are like the relationship of him and Willie, because that becomes important. Like their friendship becomes really important, and then they really set the groundwork for, you know, like with like all of them being a clique when they're leaving Vegas, and like they're all in the car together, and like he's basically dying, and like Maria's sitting in the back and Sai's in the front driving, just like looking in the rearview mirror, like bummed out. Like those two those two individual relationships, the three of them and the two of them, are some of my favorite in the book. Him and Willie is a good story. Albeit a sad one at the end, but
one thing I liked a lot about the show that I was hoping, because like the first time I read the first volume, I read that volume and then fell off the book. It was a time where I stopped buying books in general, and so I just fell off of things a lot. But I watched the show and then reread the first volume and realized how much in the show it's. Well, okay, I can't even say that because technically it's volume 2. So
no, go ahead. Who gives a fuck? We're talking about the show too, so fuck it.
Yeah, the show pretty much consists of volume 1 and volume 2 of the book. At the end of volume 1, one of the main characters that's not of that group ends up getting killed, and Fuckface takes his head and keeps his head. In the TV show, the head talks to Fuckface a lot.
Yeah.
Like he's imagining that this head is still alive and talking to him, blah blah blah. And I wanted that to happen so much. I found that to be really funny. And in the book, it doesn't do that. And that's totally okay. It was definitely a side plot that works well for TV because it gives you that extra visual humor and things like that. A real dark humor, obviously, but it was a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, the more when I went back and reread this, because I've read the first couple trades like when I first read these trades, I got the first 5 at once. I immediately I finished 5 and I went back and started 1 again, and I read it all the way through again, and I haven't read him again until right now, and then I think around right after 5 is when I picked up the book, single issue, and I've been getting it ever since then, or whatever. Either way, and But when I watched the show, I kept looking when I went back to read this, that conversation of him and Willie in the car where they're talking about the comic books. And I'm like, I know that happened in the book, because there's a lot of back and forth, or I should say there's a lot of like nuanced reference to comic books in this. The punk scene, the music references are fucking are like right there. They're in your face. Like they're lyrics from a song. Like he will say, like they talk about the Smiths, and he's like, that whole back and forth between him and Willie about the Smiths is just great. Like it's
that depressing shit.
Yeah, that depressing shit. And he goes into saying like, you got to listen to hip hop. And he goes, I love Run DMC. And he's like, no, that's old stuff. He goes, so you only like, music that's new and popular. I thought it was hilarious. But, so I was looking, I had to, I kept looking for that. And I can't remember if that does exist in the second trade, or if it's not at all in there, if it was just for the show. But I think it was. But they have a very in-depth conversation about writers and all that stuff, and it's pretty awesome.
The Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, the Dark Chris Claremont. That's what it was. Yeah,
that's my shit.
Yeah. So, I mean,
since we're all fans of this book, at least in some way or another, let's rate the fucking thing and see where we actually put it on that 5 scale.
I'm gonna say 5.
Yeah, I'm 5.
Damn.
Yeah. I thought about it for a while. Like earlier, I was like, well, I can't give it a 5. And then I'm like, yeah, I can. Like this, I fucking love this book so much. So yeah, I'm a 5.
I kind of thought I was going to be the odd man out by giving it a perfect score, because I thought you guys would try and, give it a little bit of something, a little bit of wiggle room there. And I thought about it too. And yeah, giving it a 4.5 doesn't make any sense to me. For the stuff that we are interested in, the stuff that we like outside of comic books, the stuff that we grew up on, this book, like, I don't know, fucking Remender knows what he's doing, and he talks to stupid people like us.
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story about Rick Remender. So when I was about to have my first child, Reed, so this is almost 5 years ago, in August, I was heavily into Black science. It was, early-ish in the series. I think there's only like 10 issues out, maybe. I picked that series up day one. And there was a quote in there, and I'm going to fuck up the quote, but because I don't, and I had it. It was like one of my favorite quotes, and it was like, becoming a father. It was in reference to like becoming a father takes a lifetime of work, essentially, right? And I tweeted that out and happened to say my favorite quote from Black Science from Rick Remender and tagged him, and then he came into the comments and was like, "Good luck with your son, like you're gonna do great, like you'll don't be nervous, all this stuff." And I found that when I found that and he responded to it, I fucking pinned it to my Twitter, because at the time I was all about Twitter, and I was fucking pinned it, and it was pinned there for 6 years until recently that I was changed it, but
Until you finally printed it out and hung it on the wall.
and framed it and put it on the wall right next to. I put it right next to Alan's notes that he sends us on Chipotle napkins.
Well, I actually have Shipley's Donuts napkins now, so
Oh, perfect.
little did Rick Remender know that you would show up today with that fucking mustache. Little did he know.
Have
Yeah.
either of you had the chance to meet him?
Nope.
No. I met him once at WonderCon in Anaheim, and I walked over to him with my library editions of Fear Agent. And if you've ever seen a library edition, it's it's fucking this tall, and it's just as thick as that. They're ridiculously massive. And he was like, "You waited in line and carried those this whole time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he was like, "Awesome!" And he opened them up. Super nice guy. Drew this big Heath sketch, the main character of Fear Agent, on the inside of it, smoking a big old cigar and everything. And we just sat and chatted for like 15 minutes, and then there was like a handler that kind of walked by that was like motioning me away, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck you, man!" But okay. There's still a line of people like down. They were like, the way they had his line, he was kind of off to the side near a wall, so they had everyone line up on the wall, and I couldn't see the end of the line down the wall. It was ridiculous, and I felt really good about that because, again, he's a very popular art writer and artist, but at the same time, like, he's popular for a majority of being an indie guy, and seeing so many people give a shit about that was really cool to me. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no one's lining up for the work he did in Marvel. I mean, few people are.
I'm not gonna lie, he did sign my Uncanny X-Force massive hardcover, and I sold that thing for like almost $300 because everyone loved that fucking X-Force run, and $300 is pretty nice, so I got it.
Yeah, that is a good. Yeah, that's a great run. It really is. It's really good. Yeah, I agree with all those things. 5 out of 5, all the way around. I could not agree more.
You guys realize too, this is the first book that we've done out of 3 reviews now, because the first one we didn't do a review, but out of 3 reviews that isn't a standalone story. The other 2 that we've done was a complete story, start to finish, that we read. This one, as you said, has 9 volumes now. So the fact that we like it and we're going to keep reading more, and we have read more, means all of you should go out and spend the $10. Because they were doing, when Image was doing their $10 trades for a while, whenever it was a brand new volume 1, it was always $10 instead of the $16.99 or whatever it was, because they were trying to get people interested in it. And Deadly Class is one of those, and you can still find them for $10. Hell, on in stock trades, you can find them for like $7.
Yeah.
So go buy the book and find out for yourself why we like it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, is this going to encourage you to continue reading this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Nope.
Awesome.
I gave it a 5. Not gonna.
No.
read it.
Well, I don't know. You said this is the second time you read the trade, right?
Well, the first one, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm like Tommy. I will read something and then just fucking see a butterfly and like fucking just forget about everything else.
yeah.
I literally bought all 9 trades because I had the first one for a long time. I had the first 4 issues single wise. I ended up selling those at one point. But I bought all 9 trades to be able to sit down and read them all. And from where I found them, it cost me less than $10.
Yeah, this is definitely something you could even find at like half price books and shit. I know there's a lot of they carry a lot of trades and shit. People don't care about Deadly Class.
Was I muted that whole time?
Yeah, you just went into mute. I just unmuted you though. Yeah, great. One of the things I'm working on, I decided I was going to work on was I'm going to go back and start. I got to get all these books in single issues. So I never really cared to do it, and now like I love the covers. The Wes Craig covers specifically are just so fucking good. that I'm going to start going back. So I think I have somewhere like, I don't know, I have like issue 18 through current. So I have a vast majority of it. I have an issue 1. I actually brought it out just to show off real quick. This is not the
Is it one of the variants?
yeah, it's one of the variants. It's one of the it's Saya. So and who I absolutely, she's just such a badass. And so it's a Wes Craig art. I bought this raw and submitted it myself with a pre-screen, and it came back 9.8, which I was pretty stoked about.
It's a relatively like the majority of the. I mean, I guess whenever we were talking about it that night when we picked the book, it's a relatively cheap book to pick up. Like this
It is.
single issue of number 1. And plus,
Yeah.
even like I think 9.8, you can get it for like $70 or $60 on fucking eBay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool like variants for the first issue as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the ones I was looking at recently is a Phil Noto variant.
Yes.
And there's one on the Forbidden auction website. I don't want to tell you guys, so you go buy it from under me. That one, yes, that one right
I
there.
love it so much.
Yeah, there's a 9.8 on eBay that I've been watching for quite a while now that I just haven't pulled the trigger on. So fuck off, Mike.
Don't worry, I've been looking at it too.
It's probably the same one. I'm sure it is. It's like $90. I'm like,
there's not any. There's only one on there, I believe.
I'm probably also watching it as well.
So right now, to the thing, there's 2 main things I'm doing. Well, 3 things, right? We're going sidetracked, but this is good conversation. I like it. So with Deadly Class, I want all the number 1s in 9.8. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get the rest of the issues raw. And I'm doing the same thing currently with 2 other series. The other 2 series, I have all the issues raw. I'm just going for all the number 1s, and that's Descender by Jeff Lemire and Gideon Falls by Jeff Lemire. So Descender, I'm actually way ahead. I have like 3 of them, 2 of which I brought to when I met Lemire for the second time in Baltimore, and had him sign them, and then 1 Gideon Falls as well. So that's my little one of my projects I want to do. And I don't want to just like the 9.8s. I'm good with buying off of eBay. And like, I'd love to say that I'm going to go, pick through bins and find these back issues somewhere. But these indie books as back issues, like they just don't exist in bins really for the most. I mean, sometimes they do, but not in.
Maybe like bigger like chains and shit like this. I know like the local comic book shop in my area, there's like 5 different locations, and it's pretty big in Houston. It's like probably like one of the biggest comic book stores in Houston. I mean, the other day I was able to find some like Invincible back issues, and it's I want to say I looked the other day and they had some back issues for Deadly Class.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got a first Battle Beast, right?
Oh yeah, well I got that off of Mercari or whatever that fucking
Yeah.
That fucking shit sucks, bro. They charge all kinds of crazy fees for that shit.
They do. And they do. It's stupid. Yeah.
I want to say it. So I think I got like 20 issues of Invincible, like a lot of the early ones. I'm going to tell you what I paid for it.
Invincible's another one, but I just it's terrifying, man. There's 150 something issues. Like and some of those issues are expensive as fuck. Like the number 1 is just stupid right now.
Oh
like
yeah.
The actual number 1, because there's all that like
Right.
ancillary bullshit with like, there's the whatever that comic shop was that did the 1 in 1,000 or whatever that was actually cheaper. Like, I mean, to find an Invincible number 1.
Oh, like Larry's Comics or whatever.
Yeah, the Larry's Comics one, which looks exactly like the normal comic or the normal cover. It's just slightly different. Like it might be hollow or something like that. I don't know. It's just It's so
I think it just says like Larry's
Yeah.
Comics Unlimited, like 1,000 of them or some shit. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't. There aren't even any Invincible #1s on eBay at all. It's like crazy. And I actually follow up to. I think Alex had commented on our last video saying it's less than 10,000 printed, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that. So yeah, that's just out of this world.
While I'm sitting here, I'm getting Instagram messages from Mr. Sidious, who is Jeremiah. I know he's watching right now because he's sending me eBay listings for that Phil Noto variant. So he's looking out for us.
Well, good luck, Jeremiah.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
there's another one that I really like too. It's the I'm not even gonna try to attempt to say this guy's name. The fuck, it's like the one where they're like sitting kind of like on the. Oh fuck, where is it?
Is it like almost where they're like a little bit more cartoonish, and they're like,
yeah, they're. Where the fuck is it?
does Marcus have the baseball bat in his hand? Because if it's the one you're talking about, I also can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know if you can see this on the. Oh, you can't see it. There's no way.
No, but I can find it. I can find it pretty quick.
All right, that's the fuck. It's like it says like Deadly Class like underneath it and like the letters, and they're all kind of like
sitting on it.
Yeah. His name is like Pharrell Dollarimpo or something. I don't know. Daryl something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have #1 variant. You said.
Yeah. I actually received an offer for cheaper than what it's going for right now, but I'm just kind of like, maybe. And it's a 9. I mean, it's 9.8. There's one of the variants that I really don't care for. It's the.
This is the one you're talking about. Oh, that's not working.
Yeah, that one.
I don't know how big that is, but oh, my bad. Yeah, that one. Yeah, there it is for $100 on Bomb Comics. I don't know how that popped up, but I just searched it. That's what popped up.
Yeah, a lot of them are really, really fucking cool. The only one I wouldn't collect is like the TV show photo variant. I wouldn't care for that one. And then there's the Third Eye variant where it's I'm just not a.
One of my favorite ones I've been looking for recently is the one I think it's Declan Shavley's cover with Jordy Belair. They're outside of a 7-Eleven, and like I think Billy's skateboarding, like they're smoking butts, like they're just listening to music, hanging out. And I want that cover because I can't tell you how many nights in high school I spent out front of a 7-Eleven skateboarding, smoking weed and cigarettes, drinking and just listening to music. Like I looked at that and I was like, oh, I like almost named all of my friends in my head. Like, oh, that's what so-and-so would be doing. I'm not going to fucking out anybody here like I just did myself. But like, that is my youth right there. That's just why I love this book so much. Like I never killed people. I didn't kill people. And like, I won't say I was ever a horribly depressed human being. We all had. I had my things as a kid, but like this is just hits like punk rock and a lot of the other things. Whatever, it hits.
I know. I feel bad saying that I like relate to a lot of the stuff that goes on in there because like growing up, I had friends that did. I did dumb shit, definitely. But I didn't have like some poverty-stricken life and lots of depression and stuff. And now I have a government job and stuff like that. So it's like hard to say I can relate to all these things. But music is such a big situation, a big impact on my life, especially now playing in bands for as long as I have. If I didn't have music, if I didn't experience music the way that I did when I was younger, then my life would be completely different today, and I would not like that at all.
Yeah, just like you, I think why I like it so much because I lived the life of Marcus. Besides my parents getting squished by a lady jumping off of a building. I grew up really poor. At the age of 15, I was homeless. I slept in the street. I did drugs. I didn't kill anybody, but I can relate. Like you always see him drawing and keeping his little journal and writing. I did all that shit. So for me, I think that's why it's not one of those like superhero books where people are wearing capes. I think it's even in the back of the first the trade, he writes something. It's I can't remember what the fuck he said. I don't know. I keep going back to it and not fucking telling you what it said. It said
no, yeah. I mean, find that, but like again, I think we're sitting in the same spot where we were last week, like talking about I Kill Giants. Like we're all coming at this from a different perspective, and we all love it so much. And again, like that's what just makes this for me, right? Is like not just like reading these books together and talking about them, but like being able to like understand why we each have this connection to book. It's music for Tom. It's pretty fucking real for you, Alan. And then it's like me just like being nostalgic about like, oh, I want to go back to fucking getting yelled at by the clerk in 7-Eleven because I'm walking around in circles because I'm too high to pick out what I want, like, and hanging out with my buddies. And like, I don't know, like there's just, it's why I fucking love comics, man. In
the back it says this story takes place in a recognizable world. There's no magic, no spaceships, and no one can fly or shoot I-beams. It's a coming of age story about broken kids expected to deal with a violent world. In the 80s, no cell phones or email, and many of these stories are based on true events. So I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but there's another part where he was talking in the back. Fuck, where does it say?
Although I would argue that Saya pulls up some pretty fucking crazy shit that is like for a 15-year-old, but who knows? The Yakuza does exist. There might be some 15-year-olds out there that can swing a sword.
He's talking about like Phoenix was a violent place in the late 80s and 90s, and standing out in a city like that led to numerous beatings, stabbings, and shootings amongst my friends. I've seen a man shot in the head. I had a friend shot in the back while fleeing a gunfight. Had a friend overdose on heroin before he shot himself in the head. Another was stabbed, and I was personally jumped and brutally beaten by gang members twice. Violence was something you get used to being around.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fucking. I mean, that's what you get from this book. You get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just absolute craziness.
One of my favorite things about that absolutely, Alan. I agree. And one of my favorite things about his style, and I don't know that like I don't think I've ever seen anyone else do this. I've seen it in Low. I've seen it in Black Science, and I've seen it in this. But he has that, and I'm going to try and bring it up. I think I have one here. He has this way of like, kind of when he goes into this, when he's writing like this, it's almost like he's writing prose, right? Like he goes into, and he writes everything on the side of the panels and the white. In the white, you know what I mean? And that's when like to me, that signals whenever I flip through a book that Rick Remender's writing and I see that side panel, like the writing on this, I know this is I'm gonna take a breath because what I'm about to read is about to be some real fucking shit. Like it's about to be like him talking about something that is gonna be like here's one. Like, so this is one of my, again, this is when they're leaving or Las Vegas, and like Saya's looking in the back and she moves her eyes because she sees the two of them together. But like all this stuff that he writes in the back there on the side there, like that style, I've never seen anyone do that before. I might just be, I don't know everything about comic books, but I just think it's interesting. And you always know that he's going to hit you with some real shit when that pops up.
That real shit.
That real shit.
It's definitely your monologue between panels kind of situation.
Yeah.
And without having to make it look like it's not coming out of someone's mouth, you can tell definitely that this is what's going through your main character's brain at the time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like there's always like there's the typical like, there was the old school thought bubbles that don't exist anymore, right? And now like there's no more thought bubbles, but like there's the inner monologue of said person walking down the street, doing whatever they're doing, having, thinking through something. But I think this is almost more. There's some of that, but I think this always seems much more of like a narrator. I don't think it's a narrator per se, but it's somewhere in between that. It's literally to me seems like Rick Remender is just talking to me. That's what it seems like to me, and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, it's me, Rick.
Do you like my mustache, Ricky? I shaved it for you.
Remember, I replied to your tweet. I'm here writing you personally.
Why does he sound like Dave Mustaine from Megadeth? Hey, it's me again.
So we're like 45 minutes into this. So yeah, everybody go out and read Deadly Class. We'll leave it at that. You will not be disappointed. I mean, if you remotely like,
if you like anything worth a shit,
yeah,
go fucking read Deadly Class.
Yeah.
If you don't like Deadly Class, then we don't like you.
Yeah, we don't. We do not like you. In fact, if you don't like Deadly Class, we fucking hate you.
Yeah, you might as well just change your name to Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you know what else we didn't hate, or we did hate?
What's that?
A new trailer that came out.
Yes. It blows my mind how many fucking people like. It blows my. I kind of wanted to unfollow a bunch of people over the past few days because I'm just like, are you more hyped because you own an ASM 361 or because you really thought like the trailer? Like, I just want it. Like, I don't care. Like, fucking make your money, do your thing. Like, good. If you own 4 of those books graded or 10 of those books graded, go make your money. I'm all about that. But like,
what is the significance about that book?
It's the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy as Carnage, who, just to be clear, I fucking love Venom. I love like Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character ever. I love Venom. I love Carnage. I grew up with the Maximum Carnage stuff. I know Alan loves it too. Like, I love the Donny Cates stuff. That trailer was such hot garbage. Venom would never sound like that. He is not some campy fucking roommate. He is a fucking. He should be dark and demonic.
Ketchup.
Yeah, it's so stupid. So stupid. Yeah, we're talking about the new Venom. Let There Be Feces, or I'm sorry, Let There Be Carnage trailer, which
and it sucks because I really like Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, and he's probably perfect for that role too. Like, probably like not Sony doing this, any other person doing this. Woody Harrelson makes a great Cletus Cassidy. Like, I could see that.
He's a natural born killer.
He is a natural born killer. And yes, and he was great. I mean, like, he's in what's the HBO one that he was in recently? I mean, I love Natural Born Killers, but the one where he was like in Texas with Michael McConaughey and it was super dark. True Detective. Like, he was just so fucked in that. Like, I mean, I know Natural Born Killers is like that real fucked mentality, but like, he's got range, bro, and he could have done this so well. Yeah, I'm so disappointed. I didn't think anything was going to come of it, to be honest. But
it's helping me sell a fucking book, so that's all I care about.
Do it, man. You should. And that's exactly, if you get anything from this fucking trailer, it should be that, because it's not going to be enjoyment of this movie.
You know what? I'm still going to watch it just because that's who I am.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not going to go to the movie theater. I'm probably going to download a bootleg copy of it and watch it. Sorry, Tom Hardy.
He's got enough money. Arcane, go to instocktrades.com. Amazon's got some good deals, and sometimes they do beat In Stock Trades, but go ahead and check out instocktrades.com.
Again, that's instocktrades.com. all your trades there. We need a sponsorship. Instocktrades.com.
Yes.
I remember once in a time there was that kind of a banter going on another podcast that existed.
Yeah, we don't have a cool discount code for them though. We're just doing it for no business. But yeah, no, everything on there is like at least 40% off, I think. So go catch up on everything over there.
And I would just the caveat that I would put out to what Tom said was like sometimes Amazon might be cheaper, but Amazon, you don't know who's shipping that book, and like sometimes you're gonna get it fucking crunched up. So even if it's $1 more on In Stock Trades, which it's still gonna be super cheap, just get it from there.
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious answer that I'll always say is go to your local comic book store and buy it from there.
Correct.
I have no problem paying the full price for something I love. When I buy hardcovers, if I can, I always try and go talk to my comic book.
Are you having trouble finding a trade? InStockTrades.com. You'll find it there. Don't buy it from Amazon. InStockTrades.com.
They know how to ship books.
I hope all of our iPhones were listening. So we
As
just
soon as
get
you pull up Facebook, it's going to be InStockTrades.com.
I'm all for it. I don't know what the book depository as well. Free
Fuck
shipping.
whatever you're saying. InStockBooks.com. Get out of here with that trash. If you're not doing InStockBooks.com, get out of here. Get out of here. We get to fuck woolly mammoths. We like it down here.
Can I show my own comment? I can. InStockTrades.com.
Yeah, InStockTrades.
Yeah, of course I did. It's the fun part. It's got to be fun. If we don't have fun with this, what's the fucking point? So fuck that. I know we wanted to keep this to an hour. So but I'm going to break that rule because I need to talk about this real quick.
Bring up what you're going to bring up.
I am. So I as I think a lot of you know, an avid CGC collector, particularly nipples, particularly
they do great nipples. It's true.
They grade nipples very well, especially hair.
InStockTrades.com.
Especially
promo code Masters of Evil, 10% at checkout.
Yeah. And
they add 10%?
Yeah, they add 10%.
They don't know what they're gonna do. It's Masters of Evil. You might not even get the book, but just go to InStockTrades.com.
There's something happening. I think this is pretty fucking crazy. Like I don't think people understand. Some people might not understand the significance of what just really happened. So Golden Age comic books, Silver Age comic books, collections of worth have been thought to not exist anymore. You know, you've had all these. Let me back up a second. So CGC has this whole thing called pedigree books, right? And so pedigree books are entire collections of books that were bought by a person and kept in a single collection for the lifetime of that book until it was essentially presented to CGC. The only one that wasn't was Mile High in the 70s. So I forget his name, but the owner of Mile High, when he bought that collection, which was essentially 20 straight years of every comic book ever printed from 40 to whatever 20 years later is, 40 to 60. I think it was a little bit later than that. That's the only comic pedigree that wasn't owned by the original owner, the Mile High pedigree. So it's a crazy thing that really only exists for Golden Age, quote unquote Platinum Age, and Golden Age and Silver Age comic books, right? And so CGC recognizes there's I think there's 20, there's like 18 or 20 different pedigrees, Circle 8, Northland, Mile High, a couple of other ones. Recently, potentially one of the most highest valued pedigrees was just came through. It's a collection of books from that started in 1945. It's about 5,000 comics. The person, it is such an eclectic mix of books. It is just so out there because it has things like
kid. He was a kid that collected a ton of different stuff and then went off to war and died.
Yeah. So it's a kid who, so they're anonymous. They're totally anonymous. All these books are going on to Heritage, Heritage auctions. So it's called the Promise Pedigree. If you don't know what this is, please just go to your Google, Google Promise Pedigree Heritage. Go start looking through these books, read the story. This kid was 15 years old, started collecting comic books, had about 5,000. He had the foresight to realize that these were worth something in the 40s and store them in such a way that kept them all so pristine. Go ahead, Tommy. Cut me off.
I was going to say this. The story was there was two brothers, and one of them was going off to war. And he said, if anything was to happen to me, all I want you to do is take care of my funny books.
My funny books. I love that he said that too.
That's it. You know, and sure enough, the kid went off. He died before he even hit 21 years old, fighting in the army. So his brother, that's what he did. He took these books, he preserved these books, he held on them till now, you know, till he passed and it moved on to somebody else in the family, and here they are now finally seeing the light of day, and it's fucking amazing the condition these books are in.
Close to 80 years these books sat in an attic untouched because the brother just did what his brother asked of him. He never touched them. So you know, on one side you have this kid who had the foresight to buy, you know, like when people bought comic books in the 40s, they were meant to be disposable. Comic books were not meant to be collected. They were meant to be like, I'm going to roll this up in my back pocket and roll it up and stick it in my back pocket and go play on the playground and hand it off to my friend to read. And it's disposable. It's like a newspaper. Like the way you think about buying the newspaper, which nobody buys a fucking newspaper, but you know what I'm saying? Like it is disposable. It's not something you collect. And so for somebody to actually do that in the first place, and then for a second person to have to for 80 years protect a collection of comic books, and I assume that person was probably aided by family, because you know you're not 95 years old like going to CGC or Heritage and saying, here's my books. I assume, you know, I assume there's a reason why it's anonymous, but you have some of the highest graded books that's ever existed for Golden Age books. You have books that previously graded have been 2 to 3 grades lower, now being graded at 9+. 9.6, 9.8. You know, there's Batman covers from the 40s that are all black covers that are double covers. It's a 114 that is a 9.8 double cover. Like, it's insane. These books are estimated, the entire collection graded is estimated at over $100 million. Like, individually sold at auction. It is out of this fucking world. It is an unparalleled thing that's about to happen, and I recommend. So on May 28th, these auctions are going to start coming in, and then around mid-June ish, somewhere around mid-June ish, I think they say usually between June. It's usually mid-June, so it's usually June 14th through the 18th. Somewhere there, they'll do the live final auction where these numbers will all come through. If you have the time, watch this. This is going to be fucking historical. So I'm going to bring up some of them. Like This is my favorite in the whole collection. Well, one of my favorites in the whole collection. This is the first Golden Age appearance of Solomon Grundy in a 9.6. This cover, I couldn't tell you what I would do to get this cover in a fucking 1.0. This is a 9.6. Like, the sales data on this, there's nothing. There's nothing to there's no way you could ever know what this book is going to sell at auction. I mean, it's from 44, I believe, or 46, I believe. I'm not sure. I have all the information somewhere, but I'm so fucking excited about this that I can't even. And these are the kind of books we're talking about, right? A 9.6. So that label on the top, if you're used to CGC, if you don't know much about it, InStockTrades.com will tell you everything you need to know about CGC books. We
are going to get sponsored by InStock Trades. I'm telling you. I'm going to try my fucking hardest. I'm going to go follow them on Instagram right now.
Reach out to them and let's do this, because we're actually reviewing a book every week that they could give to us that we could read and then put to that. So, but so this is just unparalleled. So the label on the top, that goldish label, I don't know if it's even really that gold color, whatever color that is means it's a pedigree. And so the next one, this one is Out of Control. This is the first appearance of Riddler in a 9.6.
Yellow cover
again, right? Like, just, you know, when you talk about pedigree, a lot of things they talk about is they notice that it's consecutive runs, right? You notice that it's issue 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, all the way up to wherever. All the colors pop. You know somebody bought this book, read it, put it away, and never touched it again. And then page quality. Those are like the three things that you know about a pedigree collection that really make it. So, like, when you start talking about yellows and purples and blacks, like, that's going to be definitive. When you get a 9.6 of the first Golden Age of the Riddler, like white pages, like, it's just great. It's unprecedented. There is no other way to explain this. My favorite thing about this collection too is it's not a lot of this stuff you always see. All American Comics, All Star Comics, Detective Comics, Action Comics, Flash Comics, even, right? Which Flash Comics is one of the more rare ones. But what you don't see is a lot of this obscure stuff, like the LB Cole covers, Contact, Mask, Catman, you know, and the Matt Baker stuff. So this comic, Phantom Lady 17, they have the complete run of Phantom Lady, all graded 9.0 or higher. I don't know if that means anything to any of you, but like,
it's a cool ass cover though.
It's beautiful.
Fucking absurd. Like, it's so absurd. Like, Matt Baker is known. Yeah, so Matt Baker, so they consider this good girl art, right? This is a very niche genre of Golden Age comic books. You have like pre-code horror, good girl art. You have sharks. People collect shark books, like planes, sci-fi, like all this different stuff. This is considered like that classic bondage, good girl art covers. A lot of the Phantom Lady books have that.
How big her titties are, geez.
Look at how big her titties are, right? Yeah. It's all pre-code, so it's ridiculous, right? They can do whatever the fuck they want. This is the reason we have a comic code. So thank you very much, Matt Baker and LB Cole. And Maurice Whitman and some of the other. But like on top of that, you have other people working on these books too. So it's absolutely insane. You know, Weird Tales 47. This is the first time Captain America's name was used in it at a 9.2. I think the previous highest grade was an 8.5, or I might be wrong on that. But it's like the original Red Skull on a cover. Like, it's just out of this world. They The Catman, this is what I was talking about. Almost a complete run of Catman. LB Cole. This is all LB Cole stuff. This book is something I've wanted forever. I've had a couple of Catman comics that they've come in and left in my collection. I currently don't own any, but this is classic LB Cole shark cover, just fucking Catman wrestling a shark. Like, doesn't get much better than that, in my opinion.
This is sell your house money, though.
This is hundreds of thousands. Like, if all the books I brought up are going to sell 6 figures plus, like they're all going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, this Heritage auction will be the most expensive comic book lot that we may ever see in our entire lifetime. Like, that's what's fucking crazy about it, is the amount of books that are in this condition at this age. Like, we may never ever see something like this again.
Just wait. 40 years from now, whenever I sell my X-Force 1 with my Deadpool rookie card,
right?
Fucking 10.5.
Yeah. So Dr. Arcane asks, how were they stored like this? There's no explanation. There was no bags and boards. So one of the things that happens in these kind of collections, it's all about foresight. So the Mile High collection is said that when it was found, they took books and they essentially, I'm not going to try and do it, but they essentially would swap spines. So it would be, you would lay it and then you would lay the spine the other side. So you would opposite and opposing every other one. And you would do it cover to cover so that there was no bit of, and this is all speculation, but that you're doing the opposite and opposing so that the spines don't get crushed and that you can stack. But a lot of people say the only reason they did that was to save room because you had so many comic books. You didn't do that because you're like, oh, someday these are going to be worth money. You did it because I have so many fucking comic books. It's easier to stack them this way. And I can save room and I can get 50 high and they're not going to fall over. Because I ask you, go stack 50 comic books unbagged and boarded, all the same way. You're not going to get very high before they topple. So I don't think there was any, like, I would love to believe there was a conscious effort to conserve these books, but I don't think there was. I think these are people who just read the book, stacked them opposite and opposing, or put them in a box, and they just sat there for 40, 50, 60, 70, in this case, 80 years until somebody unpacked them. It's just unprecedented. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's absurd. So I got two more, two of my favorites. So Tom, you brought this one up. So not only is this just a great cover, it's Eerie #1. It's the first horror comic book ever.
Yeah, that's what CGC has it listed as up there, which I would love to do some personal research to like look into that. But it's really crazy to see something listed as like the first horror comic book to exist, period.
I think that there's a caveat to that where, like, other Timely was putting out horror stories, right, in the 40s. There you would read, because comic books back then, yes, the climate had to be very dry, right? They're in an attic somewhere. I think these. I'm sorry, I'm going back to this comment that the comment the dry climate, right? I would assume so. These are all anonymous. This pedigree is anonymous, so we have no idea where it's coming from. But you would assume that. You have to assume that this is like, the way I think about it. I was talking to one of my buddies. It's like thinking about the Earth in the entire solar system. The Earth is the only place that has just the right temperature, just the right everything to propagate life. Everywhere else is fucked. So, like, this is the Earth in the solar system of comic book collections. Like, I guess that's the best way to explain it, right? But back to this, like, there are other like comic books, you know, that you would get a comic book, it would have 3 or 4 different stories in it. This is the first one that was through and through. Every story was a horror comic or a horror story. Where like Timely would be like the Human Torch, and then it would be an android, and then it would be a horror comic or a horror story. So this is the first one that was like Eerie Comics. It's all horror. That's my understanding, at least. So it's not the first story produced, because obviously there's hundreds of years of horror stories.
Have you heard of the Bible?
Well, that's the greatest sci-fi novel of all time. So the last one I'm going to hop on real quick, and this is my favorite. So LB Cole, this is Mask 1. This is the first printing. So this is graded an 8.5. The previous highest graded, and this is referenced a lot as, they call it the Fairies to the Flame, which is not an official name for it, but it's just kind of what it's known as, you know, for obvious reasons, right?
I don't get it.
You don't get it. Yeah, you wouldn't. As an artist and a comic book collector, why would you get that?
Fairies to a Flame? I don't know.
So previously to this, the highest known grade, and I believe there's only 2 of them on the CGC census, was a 6.5. And that book, I mean, it's selling there's no sales data on that book. And 3 5s, I'll say this, a 3.5 is selling for 10 grand. Easy. So single highest graded comic, 2 full grades ahead of anything. One of the single most sought after LB Cole covers ever, one of the most scarce. It's rated there's actually scarcity levels in Overstreet. This is rated as an 8 out of 10, which is fucking crazy. The only book scarcer than this in regard to this kind of book, LB Cole horror, that kind of thing, is the second printing of this book. Which is the Mask. It's technically says Mask number 2, but it's really Mask number 1, just second print, and which is another awesome cover. So, just unprecedented stuff. I couldn't go without talking about that, and I recommend everybody go. There's hundreds of these books posted on Heritage right now. You're gonna find a bunch that you will fucking fall in love with and never ever be able to touch in real life. It's just fun. It's good fun, and it's crazy.
So that we're going to wrap up episode 4. Correct? That's what this was? Because I quoted it as episode 3, and I was incorrect.
This is episode 4.
This is episode 4. Go down, like that. Like our Facebook page, or not Facebook, Instagram page.
Follow Mike on Twitter.
We have a live journal coming out soon, and a Tumblr that's just really close-up photos of our assholes.
Alan's on Parler, so if you want to go hit him up on Parler, go ahead.
Our OnlyFans pages where we just show Mike's mustache.
Yeah. No, those are our Grindr pages.
Erotic photos of Mike's mustache.
So do yourself a favor. Go to where? Where do we go, Alan?
InStockTrades.com. You have a nosy neighbor that you hate? Who cares? InStockTrades.com.
Go buy this book. Read it. It's $10 freaking from that cool website. It's even less than that. Go read it. There's no reason not to. Even if you didn't like what we talked about, I promise you'll find something that you enjoy. Even if it's just artwork, even if you hate Rick Remender's writing and you don't think it's any good, Wes Craig's artwork is really fantastic throughout this entire book. It will cause you to buy all 9 trades. I don't doubt it whatsoever. Do yourself a favor. On Tuesday nights, watch the Grail Keepers podcast here on YouTube. On Friday nights, we have a good friend named Ross, who is now doing a Low Grades podcast on Friday nights. If you're not out drinking like you should be on a Friday, go watch that. And if you don't have time to watch any of those, just watch ours all the time, repeatedly.
Rob is making a podcast on Friday nights?
No, Ross.
Ross.
Oh.
Panel surfing.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, don't watch anything that fucking Rob puts up.
He doesn't read comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, I gotta deal with him every Tuesday, man. Come on, are you serious?
Wow.
Anyways, subscribe, like the video. We hope to see you guys next Wednesday when we talk about the first volume of Monstrous, which is also an Image book. So go ahead and pick that up so you can talk to us about it.
4 Image books in a row. 4 Image books in a row. That's all I'm saying.
We're not trying to. We just really like indie books, apparently.
Mike
We're
just
not
really
sure.
likes picking the books that he picks for the fucking picks.
The first one wasn't my pick. Come on.
What was the first one that we did?
Paul is dead.
Yeah, that was mine.
Nah, I think Mike picked that one.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. But don't forget,
Trades.com.
go find.